You are listening to the BlahCade Pinball Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Freebus, aka Shut Your Trap. Not joining me from halfway or across the world is Jared Morgan because he's working. But instead, we have a special guest visitor from up the mountain. That would be Norman Stepansky, one of the producers of Pinball Arcade up there at Farsight.
Hey, how are you?
I'm doing well. I imagine you actually got some snow finally.
Yeah, we did. Some of us are happy about it. Some of us are not so happy about it. If you have to move a pinball table in the snow, then you know you're one of the ones who are not happy about it. So, but yes, it's very white up here. It's very nice. It's very clean, crisp, that kind of stuff.
For those that don't live in Southern California, we haven't had rain in I don't know how long, but definitely nothing that would produce snow until just 2 days ago.
That's right. It's been very cold up here, but we haven't gotten any snow.
Yeah. Well, good. I'm glad it's nice and white and crisp up there now. Moving pinball tables, is that moving them from the building or moving them into the building?
Actually, this time it was moving them into the building because there was a technical thing going on where, I was going to mention during the podcast that we've finally got our Big Bear Pinball League going.
Oh, fantastic.
We've done our first full league season of Big Bear Pinball, and so we've got 15 pinball tables set up at a local at Sandy's, at a local bar down here, a local sports bar.
Uh-huh.
And one of them I needed to do something with. It's kind of the same system as something we might be doing, and so I had to get it and bring it back here. Yeah, not the best planning on my part.
Now you're a pinball operator.
Yeah.
Getting your flatbed out there and working it. So how did you'd called me a while back and had asked for tips on how different leagues that I'm familiar with. What did you wind up settling on for running your pinball league for scoring purposes? And
something, I don't know if I can answer that one because I'm not the one who decided on what that was. But where IFPA sanctioned, and I'm trying to.
I mean, like, what is the format of your play? Let's put it to you that way.
Okay, well, we have four tables going at a league. We've got about 5 4-people teams going.
Okay.
And, so we play 4 games per. As far as how we do this, we are at a bar, so we're doing coin drop for the games.
Uh-huh.
I'm trying to think what else would be. It's all pretty standard stuff. We, like I said, we just had our finals. I got kicked out of the B division right at the end. I did not get to compete for the big prize, but that's about how we're doing it. Like I said, four games, 4 tables at a night.
How many players did you wind up getting?
I think we've got 6. Let's see. I think we've got 16.
Okay.
12. Some people are dropping in and out, but we've got basically 12. 14, 16.
That's a good start for a small community. I mean,
we're really happy with how it's going, and it was real fun. We had a great time, and we gave away some nice trophies, and we're really hot to have some of these tables out in the world. So if anybody is looking at the leagues around the world, the Big Bear Pinball League is definitely sponsored by Farsight Studios.
That's the officially sanctioned league.
Yeah, Farsight Studios. Yeah.
I'm guessing then the tables are not set up to tournament. I mean, you haven't done anything other than what they are in just the regular wild for play purposes.
Yeah, and we use regular, the regular rules for that. That if you get an extra ball that you shouldn't get, you let it drain, all that stuff. But there hasn't been a lot of problems. I think maybe we have a couple of tables that are set up in tournament that won't do any of that stuff.
Okay.
But I'm not positive. I know that we have our rules set so that you can get through that stuff.
Awesome. Are you guys responsible for then maintaining the machines also?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so next year, I might not be a participant. I might actually go in as an attendant. Right? Because I think every time, pinball tables, 15 of them. Standing there for a week being hit, and you go back in and do a league, something is wrong. And
the league guys are the ones that will definitely find something wrong. I mean,
well, yeah, and again, we have a guy that will go in there once a week and make sure from here that will go in there once a week and absolutely make sure that things are working well. But as handy and technical and wonderful as this guy is as a arcade repair person, he doesn't play games.
Oh.
Play games. And so some things that will work perfectly but will not feel as well as they should feel, he might not come across. And we find them when we're in the league. Right. And so anyway, next year, I think I'm just going to go in there and hang out with the people. And if something goes wrong, there'll be someone there to deal with it rather than someone who's on a team.
Right.
So that's what I'm going to do. I think I'm going to enjoy it a little bit more going in for an hour and a half as an attendant, and not actually. But I might miss getting my ranking and all that stuff. So we'll see.
Yeah, I had mentioned in a previous podcast when I was going up to Oregon for work, and I'd gone to this place called Quarter World up there in Portland.
Yeah.
And the thing that impressed me absolutely the most about this arcade was, well, for one, all the rubbers felt really fresh. And all the tables seemed to be, strong flippers, all that going. And there was an attendant, or not an attendant, a tech, you might say, walking around. And she would just plug in some quarters and plunge and flip and, have a game and then move on to the next table. And so I kind of asked her what she was doing and what was going on. And she said, this is her job. Every day she comes in, basically picks about 10 tables and just goes through them and plays them as a real person would play them, tries to find problems. And if she finds anything, then corrects it. And if the table's not balanced, like it's draining too easily or not draining enough, then she'll go in and tweak those settings and everything.
Let's hope that's a trend.
What's that?
I said, let's hope that's a trend.
Well, I don't know. I mean, but they played phenomenal. I mean, it was great. It was just like, no matter how old the table was, it was rocking.
So we probably have, if people have been following what we've been doing for a long time, that we've had upwards of 60, 70 tables set up at one time in the building.
Yeah.
Right. But now with things that are going on and reasons we need a little more room and blah, 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 a lot of the tables are now on their heads, and we probably have about 25 set up. So we've got about 25 set up. My TX Sector is up. My 8-Ball Deluxe is up. Somebody else's Star Trek, the newer Star Trek table is up. So the ones we really like are up, right? But even at the level they get played, which is not that much around here, people play pinball, but it's not like it's an arcade. But something will be broken every single week or weakened every single week. They will not be running in perfect shape. The person who loves that table will come up to me and go, hey, this just happened. Right. And then they'll wait a couple of days and hopefully we'll get to it and fix their table. But, the amount of maintenance that a handful of tables need, if you want them all to be working all the time, is like that. Yeah. You got to play them. You got to have somebody playing them all the time who cares that they're working. You shouldn't be waiting for someone to say this doesn't work, because 19 people have played that table and not enjoyed it. And they didn't know why.
Are you finding that to even be the case with the newer Stern tables that you guys have?
What's that now?
Are you finding that to also be the case even with the newer Stern tables that you have?
What exactly? I don't know.
In terms of maintenance, having to, they're constantly needing futzing with, as the older tables are.
At this point, no.
Okay.
But again, the whole push towards Spike and where they are now is so that anybody who's seen Spike knows that a pinball table now looks like a TV set. There's just nothing there inside. It's a little circuit board that controls everything. That's going to break down, right? There's so many things that are, certainly there's mechanical things. Other people who are listening to this podcast are already typing to send detail about their Stern machine and how they feel. But at this point, with the machines we have here, with the amount of use they've gotten, no, it's the TX Sectors that smoke. Right. Strange things, right? It's the 8-Ball Deluxes. It's, all of those. It's the Medieval Madnesses and everything. And you can see why. These are old tables. It's old technology. A lot of moving parts. A lot of that has been knocked down over the years. So at this point, yeah, stern tables seem to be very, very reliable.
So speaking of stern tables, let's shift a little bit into Stern Pinball Arcade.
Oh no!
What? Oh, yeah, we're gonna talk things. Stern obviously is still updating code on various tables, and I would think Ghostbusters would be one that would definitely be maybe still getting updates. I don't know if it is or not. How are you guys gonna handle that? If an update comes from Stern, are you going to then do a patch for the game and have the newest version come in?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it really depends on what. Again, I'm only slightly close to this, but the certainly if they do a major change, certainly if it's a fix, there's something that's broken, we will get that in. I don't think there's any, I don't want to get in trouble for this, but yes, I believe that Stern updates, maybe not all, their plan might not to be every single one as they come out. Or
right.
Plan to, I can't really speak to exactly what the rollout's going to be for that, but the intention certainly, and there's no reason that we can't update code.
I mean, it came to mind just because I saw that once again, Guardians of the Galaxy has an update available. I think it was today or yesterday. Right. And I mean, obviously that's a fresh table that's out there. So there's going to be those kind of updates happening constantly with them. But I was just curious to know if,
I could be wrong. I'm going to get struck down with a lightning bolt, but I believe that's already taken place, that there's already been some code updates that had come through that people either notice or don't notice.
Okay. Also, and I was able to mess around with this over the holiday, the Stern Pinball Arcade app came out on the Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
And right away, I went, hey, this doesn't quite look the same as it is on Steam and iOS, mainly in that you guys updated the UI big time. It looks good. It functions well. Is that going to be coming to the other systems eventually, I hope?
Now, I asked about this, and I believe the UI on the Switch is not a revamped UI, it's the old UI.
No, I mean, it's got basically, it looks like you're standing in the middle of a circle of tables, and you select the table, the tables rotate in, so you know what the next table is.
I got it. It sounds like the original Stern UI.
Okay.
And so you're in a center of tables that cycles around you.
Yes. As opposed to on Steam, where it's the grid, you might say. It's just first two tables are, here's what your free tables are, and then here's the various tables below it.
Yeah. I asked about this on purpose, and I actually got misinformed about this. And so I will have to defer that one because I don't know what's about to happen with that.
Okay.
I apologize because you asked me.
I did throw that one into you in advance.
I think I am misinformed, and it's probably my fault.
And I'll just tell this for people that don't have a Switch, because I don't know, maybe everybody did get one for Christmas, but I don't know. One of the other nice things is that because the Stern app, it takes a little. You select the table, there's a load screen. It takes a little while for the tables to load. And rather than just having to see the boring loading words across the screen, you guys actually put in the flyer art for each machine, which I thought was a nice touch. Just one of those things that you get to see and look. And it made me, when I went back to the Steam version, go, oh, it's not there anymore.
We're very excited about the Switch, mostly because it's the only handheld that has real-time lighting on it. It's the first. That's a first for us, and that's just super awesome. It looks awesome,
Yeah, are you guys? I mean, it definitely looks exactly like what I see on Steam. I didn't notice any huge difference in appearance there at all.
That coming from a handheld is quite a statement.
Yeah. Are you guys planning on utilizing the availability of the portrait mode with the Switch?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Good.
The answer to that is yeah. So
just no time at some point is basically
time frame. I don't think I will get in trouble with this. So the time frame should not be long.
Okay.
It's something that's happening.
Okay, that's good to hear too. Just for those that like to play it that way. The only bummer with that, and I discovered this trying it out with the Zen Spinball FX 3, is that it becomes a touchscreen button push, which I'm not a fan of using my thumbs to flip flippers. But there's probably no other way to do it because just how the controller is set up on when you go in portrait mode.
That was the same. That was the same issue that we had with with the PSP and with all of the devices. And you end up coming up with something that works pretty well once you get used to it. But it would always be nice to have buttons on the side. Why don't they do that?
How dare they? Don't they know what game we want to play on there? Are you planning on also having just regular Pinball Arcade come to Switch?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that's a no-brainer. That will happen.
And is it with Switch? Is it going to be more day and date with the mobile and Steam in terms of release date, or is it going to follow more of the Xbox and PS4 where it's updates maybe twice a year kind of thing?
Without speculating anything that would be wrong, I think we can consider this a console.
Okay.
You know what I mean? This is a console. It's a little console, but it's a console. And so, the role. So
the submission process that happens with consoles is basically going to be in place with this also.
Absolutely. Now, my impression of this was that it was not very hard and it went through very quickly, and that Nintendo is is expediting things very quick because they want games out there, and so everything is going very nicely. And I haven't gotten the feeling that it's a like we always talk about, that sometimes the console process is a little gating, takes time. That might be true with this thing too. However, the impression so far is that the wheels are moving smoothly, and it didn't take long to get things through. So we'll hope that that's the case going forward.
Okay. Moving on. I think the table hint for next month was so blatantly obvious that we'll just go ahead and say, hey, it's Sorcerer.
Okay. Was it? But I mean, was it? Did you have to think about it even for a second?
No, when it said soft and ER, you just kind of go, okay, yeah. Did you guys?
If you don't watch TV, or you live in Borneo or something, or
did you guys wind up having to buy this again? If I'm not mistaken, this is one of the tables that you sold off after the initial Williams Pinball Hall of Fame.
Actually, there are several tables that we did buy again, mostly the early ones.
Right.
Because we sold those off and and we went, oh boy, we want Medieval Madness back again, don't we? And so, we rebought everything like that. However, this time around, we were able to do the table mostly because, remember, we already had Sorcerer.
Yeah.
We just had to, it mostly had to be, certainly it had to be, a lot of things had to be done to it, but we have already done it. So we did this mostly by observation at Pinball, at the Banning Pinball Museum.
Right. I was going to say, I wondered if there was
pictures down there. I actually, if anybody is interested in the sausage you're making, I actually got the sound for it using a space shuttle table.
Oh.
Right. And because they're the same system, and I have a custom chip for the space shuttle table, and I move the ROMs for the Sorcerer into it, and I can run my custom chip on the space shuttle table.
Oh, nice.
Right. And so I had to bring the space shuttle table back from Sandy's in the snow. Now you've got the entire story.
There we go. It all comes together.
Yeah.
So this with Sorcerer, that leaves only the tables that from the original Gottlieb and from Williams that have not been redone, being Ace High and Jive Time.
Let's talk about Ace High and Jive Time, shall we? Please,
because I know my opinion of those, but maybe we can just settle this once and for all.
Yeah. I have to play Jive Time. Truthfully, I have to play Jive Time again, and Jive Time kind of turned to dust, so we don't actually have a Jive Time table any longer. That turned to dust not too long after we actually made it, and but I have to play it again because I have a much higher appreciation of EM tables in every way. I have a, what I mean? I may like it better than I seem to remember.
Mm-hmm.
Right, Jive Time. I don't know if anybody. I have to ask people if anybody's asking for jive time.
Well, what people are asking is that they go, oh, well, if I want to have completely, basically, if they want to be able to completely discard their prior discs, and
right.
It's, oh, so we're going to get ace high and jive time at some point, right? I don't think anybody's actually clamoring for those tables, but I think it's the completionist in them that is asking the question.
Yeah, I'll have to get back to you on that one. Jive time. Not sure if it'll be a big seller. We could package it with something and force people to buy it, right?
Well, package it with like, because jive time, that's a Williams table, correct?
Yes.
Yes. So maybe if you package it with 2 good Gottlieb EMs, which most Gottlieb EMs are, then then we can be happy.
Yeah, maybe. We'll have to discuss the possibilities.
Whenever we get the yearly EM announcement, I'm always just like crossing my fingers. Okay, this is the one time I will ask for a Gottlieb. And then this last time we got Williams, I was like, no.
And just so I don't get too many letters, I really like EMs. Boy, I'm a big fan these days. But yeah, those 2 tables have never really been really high on my list. And when we made them, we really had no real good sensibility in the early Gottlieb collection. What we were actually picking and why. Yeah, we're much better at that now.
You having gotten into EMs, I think what I've discovered with EMs is basically the only way that I prefer them is if they have a lot of drop targets. Because if it's just nothing but a bunch of lanes, well, that to me reminds me of modern tables, and modern tables have so many more things to do that then I get bored quickly with EM. But if it's a lot of drop targets, I don't get bored at drop targets because that's aiming practice.
Yeah, well, that's why people like Big Shot so much, right? We Big Shot. I think I probably said this if I've done another thing with you guys, but Big Shot consistently is in the top 10 tables played always.
Yeah, that's crazy to me.
And well, but as you say, sometimes it's nice to go to Big Shot because it doesn't scream at you. It doesn't have big music and it doesn't go jackpot. And, and so, that you just hear the ball rolling around. You just have bells going off and it's nice. And as you say, it's a target shooter with full-size flippers.
Yeah.
Let's remember, it's an EM with full-size flippers, right? This is what I think people really like, right? But Fireball, right, is a fantastic table.
It's amazing.
It can be mean and it can be unfriendly and unforgiving, right? But Fireball is a wonderful design that is just is a great table. And so the when you get all the way back to EMs, there's nowhere to hide. You either have a nice table design, which and the way I always like to describe this, not just in pinball, but any kind of game design, right? This is a delicate balance of reward and failure. A game that gives you too much reward is not fun. A game that gives you too much failure is not fun. But when you can balance it out so it frustrates you and then you conquer it, you get that balance right, that's when things really start to happen. And there's no hiding on an EM table. It has to be a good game. There's no music or VO or entertainment except for the design of that game, right? Yeah. And that's why there's a couple of EMs that are not so great because they weren't so great, and there's nothing to hide behind. But Matahari is a great table, right? Is just the original Matahari is a great table. I don't know if you want to agree with me or not.
I don't have an opinion on Matahari.
Really? Oh, okay. Yeah, I've had some great games.
I mean, I've probably seen it, but I don't know if for a fact that I've ever played it.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That's one reason we're lucky to have the Banning Pinball Museum so close.
Yeah.
These guys have an EM room that will kill you. And if anybody is who's listening to this thing is anywhere near the Banning Pinball Museum, you haven't been to one of their events yet.
Which they have one coming up.
I know there's one right away. I think it's a tournament of some sort.
It's it never rains or never rains. That's the joke. It never drains in Southern California. That's the tournament.
Thank you for that.
And they're doing a 3-day event. I believe it's next weekend. Tickets pre-order right now are $20 per day, or $50 for the entire weekend if you purchased early.
Thanks for remembering that to all our good friends at the Banning Pinball Museum. But anybody who's nearby that place, if you haven't seen it, that's 550, probably more now, pinball machines, 450 arcade machines. Nice setup, just awesome.
It was featured Norman Reedus, the guy from Walking Dead, plays Daryl. He has a show on AMC called Ride, where he basically, hops on his motorcycle and goes around. Yeah. And they went to the Banning Museum of Pinball and checked it out. So if you want to see it for yourself in motion form, look up one of the episodes for Norman Reedus' Ride.
And there's also great pictures of it in all sorts of different years on our website and on our Facebook and there.
It's a rather fantastic place. It is. What has got you excited in pinball these days?
What has gotten me excited? I like pinball. So there's a lot of things. I'm trying.
Well, you get to go to a lot of the shows. So,
I do.
Sometimes, for instance, have you gotten your hands on any of these not quite released machines? Things like Alien or Big Lebowski or
Big Lebowski. I've seen. And okay. Big Lebowski I've seen, and it's a pretty nice playing table. It was a while ago. I didn't get to play it much, but yes, it's all the new tables are coming out are really, really nice. People are really thinking of the things that stick out that I get excited about at the expos is first of all, multimorphic. P3.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right. I don't know how many people who have experienced what this guy's been doing and what his business model has been. He is not taking money from people. He takes, he has machines before he sells them. It's just a very, very nice, friendly, good business model. And it's a fully modular machine. We know what we're talking about here. Do your listeners know about this?
I know that we've discussed it before, but it's basically all the parts are on top of the playfield. And
so picture this. Picture a playfield that is a video machine in the middle. That is a TV in the middle. So it has all of that, but it has rollover. So you can have something on there that you can roll over and hit, right? And then all along the sides, there's two banks that can be picked up that are side banks that could be entry to a ramp. It could be a drop target. It could be a hole. Whatever that game wants. And then there are pullouts that are in the back that are runarounds or a trap or kickbacks or whatever. And so the idea is that you just pick up these elements. You put them in a suitcase. You pick up other elements. You drop them in the table. And you've got a whole new pinball machine. Right. But the interesting part is just the design of the games and the way that he's getting this to work and the open way that he's dealing with developers, that he wants other people to be making games for his platform. So it's just that one really gets me. It looks like the future of pinball to me. Right. That having been said, right, what I was saying before I started saying that, the newer tables, the Stern tables are super impressive and fun. They are just I'm really enjoying them. I like, Ghostbusters. I mean, people have different opinions about what they think about that table, but that table is deep.
Yeah.
People haven't realized they've played it and they go, oh, okay, it's tricky. And it's easy to walk away thinking that it's frill. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But it is very deep and it gets crazy. And then highway pinball, full throttle, is awesome. Right. And I don't know if you guys have been exposed to that yet, but
no, I've yet to. I have not seen one of those in person yet.
And I guess that would be, he's going to be coming out with the Alien table at some point.
Yeah.
Or maybe he already has. I've kind of lost track.
They ran into some financial issues and had to reorganize, and apparently now they're way back on track and producing. I don't know if anything's been delivered yet, though.
I'm trying to remember this guy's name. Antonio, I think. Antonio Artuno. A guy came to visit us a little while ago along these lines about new tables that are out. Antonio Artuno, and his place is called, I think it's he's the guy who developed the Captain Nemo table. Have you seen it?
No.
He's from Spain, and he's got one table at Captain Nemo, and it's really great. And he has a great story, and he's putting together a real nice company. And him and his cousin came to visit us just because he's a fan, right? And Captain Nemo is a lovely table, and he made 30 and sold 30.
Wow.
Right? And it's just he's anyway, if anybody's listening, they should go to his website. I believe it's I should have written it down in front of me. Quaxtal Pinball. Anyway, just look up Captain Nemo Pinball. It'll bring you right to him, right? But this, there are people out there making pinball tables. There's more people than we know.
No, it's crazy.
3 years from now, there's going to be people with a bunch of physical pinball tables out because this guy and other people like him are figuring out business models that you don't need an army or a warehouse. You just need a lot of dedication and be a good designer.
Yeah.
And this guy's a good designer, and there's some great, as you say, there's some great, exciting things coming out.
Do you get frustrated by Stern's mainly the one that's doing this, where the difference between the pro models and the premium editions, where all of a sudden it's like, for some reason, a spinner is a premium only thing. And like on a table like Guardians of the Galaxy, me and Jared were discussing this, the differences actually didn't affect the game. But then you look at Star Wars, and it's huge difference between, or Game of Thrones, where it's this gigantic difference between how they play. And what you want to shoot for. Does that? How does that rub you? In the sense that again, I can't really speak to that. We only have one version of the game here. Yeah, that's a good one.
I played the limited version of a friend of mine has the limited version of Ghostbusters, and I played it for a couple of seconds before I went, hey, no magnets, hey, and the holograms in there, hey, that kind of stuff. But yes, like I said, it did not change the gameplay, at least at that point. For me, it was plenty fun. It seems to me to be a good thing to give people a lower cost, alternative so they can get into the game. But to speak to, just me talking, just to speak to the possibility that maybe some games are unbalanced with how much you really need that feature. And some games that sounds like a learning curve on their marketing.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And either there probably is a sweet spot of where you want to put those things. It's kind of like, and again, I saw you laugh a little bit. This is a point that I want to make after 12 years in the game business, and longer than that in other businesses that are kind of like this, right? And that's that not everything that has to do with marketing or revenue or whatever is sinister, right?
Okay.
It's not always sinister, because you got to remember that companies have to have models that work so they can make money, so they can keep doing it. It's not about rolling in dough, and laughing to the it isn't like that at all. It's about working hard and making sure your company and your people are getting paid, right? And that your users are getting a product that you're proud of, right?
Right.
People people are starting to write letters to me right now about that, about the product you can be proud of part, right? But I'm extremely proud of Pinball Arcade. I mean, I couldn't be prouder of Pinball Arcade. There's some, anybody who's talked to me at an expo knows this, right?
Yes.
And but when I say something like, if there is a sweet spot in the Stern business model of what they put in certain tiers to give the people in lower tiers what they need, but still entice people to come to the next tier up, right? It's kind of like a friendly TV station that has a tier that has no sports in it, or a TV station that has a tier that has, just enough that if you sports, you're okay. And if you're heavy, you have to go to the, you know what I mean? These are business models, and they're not necessarily sinister. And it goes all the way back to tearing down the gates of the rock and roll show and running in because music should be free. Right? But there's sound guys to be paid, and the guys who put the stage up, and there's, you know what I mean? There's an idea.
I do know what you mean
here that wants everything to just be all user centric, but there really has to be some, and the larger your company gets, and we are very small, right?
Yeah.
Comparatively extremely small for the footprint that we have, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's not always sinister. The bottom line is to deliver a good product, right? And if you knew the entire history of Farsight and what Jay has been through to keep this thing going and to keep paying people and to keep, and to keep the product going out, you would know that there's nothing sinister going down here. This is a real act of passion. Always has been.
And I always try to tell people that if you ever met any of the guys from Farsight, you would understand that passion.
And a lot of them have at the expos. Yeah. I think we make a good case for ourselves when they come see us.
It's hard to walk away with cynicism still in your mind after talking to one of you guys.
Good, glad to hear it.
About that. With Pinball Arcade, and I know I've had this discussion with you many times, but let's get it actually out of your mouth and into people's ears, because everybody's always wondering, when is it going to end? When is enough enough? Are we just going for the 100th? People are already writing posts of, well, is there going to be a season 8? Because then they get worried, especially with Stern Pinball Arcade, where Ghostbusters was the only release last year, and so then they start being fearful and, oh no, now they're getting another platform, blah blah blah. What is, and I already know the answer to this, but what is the game plan for how many tables you produce, or how long you keep on pumping out Pinball Arcade?
Again, I'm just not I'm not prepared to absolutely commit myself on what's coming, right? But the conversation about ending Pinball Arcade is not come across me yet, right? So, and it would, right? So
what is it you always tell me, that so long as there's a demand, you guys will meet it.
And think again, we're talking about a company. Do you just say, never mind, we don't want you to buy this from us when we know you're about to buy this from us, right? So that's really the thinking. But I think to answer the question the best I can right now, because details are being figured out right now about what to do next. Technologies are changing. Everybody knows the issue of licensing, and that we are either there certainly will be inroads into licensing that we haven't made before, right? But there won't be inroads into licensing in places we've never been able to get it. So all of that is going to just continue to flesh out as the years roll out. And so but obviously we have a lot of tables out in the world, and we have to be smart about how we what we offer in the next seasons that come forward. So, but I think the easy way to answer the question is that Pinball Arcade, I don't hear the brakes screeching on Pinball Arcade yet, and so just we'll and yeah.
There you go, folks.
That's really the best I can do. I mean, that's the best I can do right now. Just don't worry, there'll be something out there.
There you go. Me and Jared are always, kings of speculation, but I like now and then to actually drop an actual truth nugget. So, is there any chance in hell of a Jersey Jack pinball coming to Farsight?
There certainly isn't one now. Right. A Jersey Jack, we see him at the expos. We saw him in Pittsburgh, and super friendly guy, nice guy. We did back-to-back presentations at the speeches, panels. And super nice guy. I talk to him when I'm there. And what I've always said about that is that everybody's real friendly about the idea, and one of these days there would be, I can't imagine that there would not be a reason that he would want to put one of his tables in Pinball Arcade. They're just, one of these days it just will happen, right? And but right now nobody's really talking about it. He's got his own thing going on. I'm sure he's busy planning his next one, whatever he's doing. But until it gets to a point where he sees that as something that he wants to get into, hopefully it's, this is just me talking. This is not Farsight anyway. I want Dialed In.
Yeah, that's all I want. I could care less about the others.
And Dialed In would be a great one because it's a non-licensed property.
Yeah.
So again, a nice bunch of people over there and we've had nothing but friendly conversations, and so it's just I just look forward to it showing up one of these days.
Yeah, it would be nice. It absolutely would be nice.
No reason to stop it though.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. Good. Glad to hear that. Anything else that's come across your mind that you want to share with anybody?
Well, yeah, just for kicks. There's just a few things I was looking back through some of the change logs over the months. And if anybody missed some of these things, if they're interested, they might want to go back and look at some tables that had some changes that if they hadn't noticed that we made some changes, they might want to go back and see. One of them is there were a lot of, for PC people on DX11, there was a lot of lighting changes that actually looked like they were fixes on Big Shot.
No.
So the people who liked Big Shot, who noticed that there might have been some lights that were tied together in strange places only on DX11, that looked like a long enough list of fixes that they got in a while ago. It's been in there for a while, but they might want to go back and look at Big Shot and take a look at that. I want to.
I noticed you guys are going back in, and this is mainly with season 1 and 2 tables, that some of the lighting changes, you're basically getting rid of the baked-in lighting that you had done pre DX11 to try and fake that look. But then when you put DX11 on top of it, it looked horrible. Like Brad at Pinball was a prime example where it looked horrible. And then since then, it's been completely redone with lighting, and now it looks really fantastic.
And I'm looking at a list of about, I don't know, off the top of my, it looks like 30 tables, maybe 35 that has had the treatment, and they are being, I'm not sure if they're all, I don't know exactly when I don't have this list dated. So, if we put them all in at the same time, there'd be a download from hell. Right. and so we've been filtering them in over time. For all I know, they're all in already. Right.
Okay.
But anybody who hasn't, if there was anything, there's a lot of tables that have been upgraded for DX11 and continue to be upgraded for DX11 in case I have to ask somebody to see if they finished that by now. But my guess is they haven't finished it by now. But the point is that, lots and lots of tables, Whitewater Theater of Magic Taxi, Arabian Nights, Attack from Mars, Circus Voltaire, Champion Pump, blah, blah, blah. Firepower.
You had mentioned before the podcast that one of the ones that I think would gameplay-wise had changed was Going Nuts, which is a table I never touch. And so before this broadcast, I went ahead and I threw it in. And right off the bat, I noticed that usually when it would do the launching of the balls, 2 of the balls would want to drain almost instantly just because of the path that they would seemingly take.
You should nudge out of that, by the way.
What's that?
You should nudge out of that.
Yeah. I'm not a nudger, but I noticed that wasn't no longer the case. That immediately the balls they launched and they had a random kind of bounce, and then I played another game after that, and they bounced in a completely different fashion. So I was like, hey, look at that! It's not so much a railroad of where they're going. There's actual variations that are happening.
So here's the thing: Going Nuts is the one I'm most excited about because I love that table, and Going Nuts I really like because there's only 9 in the world. What a good use of Pinball Arcade to get Going Nuts into it, right? Yeah. And it's kind of a strange game, but it is really fun. It's not easy, but it's fun. But the point is that once if anybody has not seen Going Nuts, the way it works is that it launches into a 3-ball multi-ball. You start with a 3-ball multi-ball. There is a timer that begins to count up that you get time, seconds. And as long as you're in 3-ball or 2-ball multi-ball, that timer continues to count up. When you go to single ball, that timer starts to count down, and you've got to restart multi-ball, or you're going to run out of time and you go into a tilt situation and you lose your ball, right? Yep. So when you want to restart multi-ball, it was almost impossible, right? Yeah. And to be fair, I think it was almost impossible on the real table, right? So I think our tuning actually was not so bad for real life, right? But it just wasn't fun for a game. And so now it is a lot easier to get that multi-ball started again. Still not easy, but it's possible. And the ball bounces up into areas that it didn't used to, so that you get a possibility of getting your game from 2-ball to 3-ball multi-ball, or from 1-ball back up to 3-ball multi-ball. Anyway, it's awesome. So if people haven't looked at Going Nuts in a long time, you really should take another look at it, because it's super fun. It's one of my favorites. It really is.
Yeah, we were going to have Mike Lindsay on the podcast along with you, but he is in Las Vegas right now for the Consumer Electronics Show, of which there's where the Pinball Hall of Fame is, of which has Going Nuts there. So maybe he's also doing some just additional recon to make sure that you nailed it.
Yeah, I hope so. We don't know if it's on its feet. It's a crapshoot if Going Nuts is up on its feet when you get to the Pinball Hall of Fame. A couple of other tables just for fun. Scared Stiff is one of the ones that had DX11 pass, and it had a tuning pass on it. Medieval Madness has had a tuning pass. T2 and might get a little more. And let's see, Theater of Magic, Circus Voltaire, Bride of Pinbot, Creature. Yeah, that's enough for now.
Yeah.
Any of those tables, if you haven't seen them for a long time, you might want to go back. There might be some tuning changes that you like.
Good stuff all around. All right, Norman, we have taken up more than enough of your time, and completely enjoy it when you come on here, because you're just a ball to chat pinball with. Folks, why don't you go ahead and check out the BlahCade Pinball website. That is BlahCadePinball.com. There you'll find all of our past shows you can download. One of the things, we are going to be migrating the site to another site, and when that happens, we'll be putting on our new logo. If you didn't get a chance to vote for which logo you liked better visually, you can still find it on our Twitter feed, although the verdict has pretty much already come down. So we'll talk about that another time. Also, make sure that you follow the Twitter feed in general. That is at BlahCade. You can follow myself at Shut Your Traps. Jared is at Jared Morgan. Norman, you don't have a Twitter handle, do you?
I do not.
Okay, don't follow Norman then. But you can follow Pinball Arcade. Pinball Arcade is on Twitter, and it's good to follow them because they always do announce when new tables are coming out. Sometimes they'll announce tournaments that are happening with Major League Pinball. Just good things to keep your eyes open for. All right, Norman, we will I look forward to talking to you again in the future when you got more good news to drop on us. As always, thank you so much. And thank you to everybody for listening. We'll catch you next time on the BlahCade Pinball Podcast.